Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Wednesday, September 14th. So the moon is in Taurus all day. This is slowing us down, trying to make us present, trying to pluck the silver linings out of our current circumstances. This is trying to make us focus on what our physical body needs, how we can nurture ourselves, nourish ourselves back to a place of safety, security, and stability. Now, that being said, it may be very hard to do, but emotionally speaking, that's what we crave. This Taurus energy really does kind of trigger our passions, our desires, especially for order, where there's been chaos, for stability, where things have gotten shaky. And we just kind of want to feel comfortable in our body, in our physical realms, which may pose to be a little bit of a challenge. We have to keep in mind that Venus rules over Taurus energy. Venus is currently in Virgo energy, trying to return us to a state of wholeness through taking care of our health, our wellness, really examining where it is that new routines, new methods, new ways of doing things in our day-to-day lives need to be switched up in order to promote a lot of stability, a lot of nourishment to the mind, to the body, to the soul. This Taurus energy is very sensual. That's why we get connected to our physical body. And because of the ascension symptoms coming in, because of the energy, again, take a listen to the ascension forecast for the week. And because some of the circumstances that we're currently dealing with as we close out a chapter and as we anticipate the beginnings of a new chapter with the equinox, we aren't feeling so hot, but we have to do what it is that we can in order to try to make the best of this present moment. Now, here's the thing. The moon wants to stay in this present moment, does not want to get caught up in the past, does not want to project ourselves in the future. But we have some aspects happening here today that's going to make that a very hard thing to do. Most importantly, with Uranus, who is trying to make us change, to adopt new methods, new ways of doing things, to open up our minds, to adapting to a different lifestyle. And then we have Saturn, who is kind of pumping the brakes and saying, okay, before you get ahead of yourself, let's focus on the responsibilities that you have in order to fulfill the commitments that you've made. And because of that, we have this push and pull constantly at us, pushing us out of this present moment that we're desperately trying to stay in, because right now there's more safety and security in the present moment than there is on thinking about the past and definitely thinking about the future. So we're definitely going to struggle here today with our mental plane. Again, Mercury is retrograde. We have to consider the fact that Mercury is trying, along with the other planets in a retrograde, to make us look back, while we have all these other aspects pushing us to look forward. And emotionally speaking, what we need right now is to just stay in the present moment. So we are going to see a little bit of a tug of war take place. It is going to be a struggle. And with 10 aspects here today, and 9 of them being involved with the moon, we're definitely going to be challenged with how strong our mental plane actually is. So we have the moon semi-squaring Neptune. So a semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, a little bit of a conflict. Most importantly, because Neptune, being the ruler over dreams, over our higher self, is, again, retrograde in its place of power of Pisces, but trying to show us what it is that we need to focus on as far as our dream goals go. Now, as we just kind of explored, the moon in Taurus does not want to go into la la land to think about the future. We want to stick to the present moment. We want to stick into the here and now. We want to be in touch with our physical bodies, with our physical circumstances here and now. So it's almost like we're resisting trying to move into that la la land, that imaginary space in our heart space, in our head space, where our higher self is trying to show us a greater, grander picture of the vision, of the goal, of the dream. So we're fighting this element. And because of that, Neptune, again, being super hypersensitive, picking up on the subtle energies around us, we're having a hard time staying present, staying in the physical body, in the physical circumstance, because we're picking up on things that's pulling us out of this present moment. Now, Venus is going to make a very awkward aspect with Pluto. So we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, going kind of in this awkward confrontation, if you will, with the god of the underworld, the great transformer himself, Pluto. So what we know is going to be triggered from this energy is there's this underlying storyline, if you will, where we're feeling tension in our physical bodies, in our heart space, in our psyche, probably in our personal relationship, seeing that Mercury is retrograde in Libra. And socially, we're just not in it. We don't really want to connect. We're kind of withdrawn. Again, the moon in Taurus draws us inward, keeps us in this present moment. But here's the thing. We have a lot of ugliness, a lot of shadow elements creeping up, because that's what Pluto does. Pluto kind of illuminates the shadow element, the pain, the trauma, the suffering, the jealousy, the anger, if you will, not to paralyze us and keep us in that state of remembrance, but instead to inspire us, to motivate us, to get us in a frame of mind where we no longer want those types of thoughts and feelings to take over us. And so we're more open and willing to make changes so that we can move away from some of these aspects. But this particular energy is kind of bringing up a lot of fear that we have about losing something or losing someone, or, we're in this really awkward space, if you will, where we have to detach from old topics and themes or relationships or titles or possessions in order to actually grow and improve and move on in our lives. And even though that we know that, sometimes the fear of what that change is going to look like is enough to paralyze us and keep us in the same old, same old. There's like this awareness that is coming up that we might not be happy with our current circumstances, but we're also fearful in letting go of our current circumstances because we don't know what awaits us. And so there is this element where there is a lot of fear attached to losing something or someone or a title or a possession. We're in a time of change. We are detaching. We have Uranus, again, retrograde and Taurus energy, trying to show us in our inner realm what it is that we're afraid of losing, where it is that we're overly attached to some elements here in this materialistic realm, and where it is that that's blocking the element of spontaneity for us to actually muster up the courage and the bravery to put ourselves out there and to be a little bit more free-falling with taking a chance, taking a risk on something that could potentially align us with a better path, with a better mission, with a better purpose. So what happens is that we sit with all of these, let's call them ugly shadow parts, these fears, these attachments, these doubts, these insecurities. And sitting in that, what happens is that we realize what it is we actually want, where desires are coming up for us. Maybe that we've, repressed or suppressed, where we've kind of backburnered them, where we've, tried to ignore them because we didn't think that they were possible. Sometimes we need to sit in the funk. We need to sit in the darkness in order to realize the light that we are trying to dim within ourselves. And that light comes to the form of, well, okay, what do you actually want? Because if you're praying for change, but you're not willing to make it, and if you've identified what it is that you want to let go of, but you're afraid of losing it, then you have to make a choice. You're either going to stick to the same old and gut whatever it is that you've already gotten, or you're going to put yourself out there, take a risk, understand that, detaching, losing things, people, places, identities, and themes are a necessary element for the growth and evolvement of your soul's mission, of your soul's purpose. So it's almost like we're getting to a point where we got to like shit or get off the pot here, because the back and forth, and granted, Mercury's in Libra, so we're sitting on the fence about everything. There's this tit for tat. There's this, pro versus con. We're super indecisive. We have all these planets in a retrograde, so we're really trying to like review and revise and reprocess and recalibrate and realign, and it is a struggle. I'm not trying to knock it. It is a struggle, but just kind of understand and pay attention to the triggers and activations that are coming up for you around fear, around loss, around realizing what it is that you're so desperately holding on to, even though it's probably kind of lived its course and you've kind of outgrown it. And understand what it is that holding on to certain elements from your past is actually preventing you from when it comes to passions and desires. And sometimes fear can be a very powerful and strong emotion for us to use as a framework to see how important something actually is to us, and how much we actually have a new passion and a desire for change, for something new, for brand new elements. So this particular aspect is going to bring up a lot. And Venus, of course, being the ruler over this moon energy in Taurus, is really kind of messing with us. Because again, the moon in Taurus, we just want to find the bright side. We want to stick in the present moment. And then having all of these memories flash back and these impulses come up and these questions within us about what it is that we're afraid of losing or what it is that we're afraid to move on from. It takes us out of the present moment of the here and now. And again, that's what we're striving for today, is to stick into the present moment, to pull out those silver linings, and to really kind of find the beauty in the smaller things, in our physical circumstances, in our physical bodies, in the here and now. So the moon goes ahead and trines Venus right after, which is a beautiful element, right? Venus, the ruler over this moon energy. Venus is in Virgo, which is an earth energy. The moon in Taurus is an earth energy. So we got a lot of grounding going on. We also have a slow enough pace in our physical realities in order to catch our breath and catch up, because it has been quite a whirlwind. And the moon kind of trining is a blending, a harmony of energies with Venus. So this means that out of that little cluster F of dark shadow elements coming up that we just sat in, we recognize what it is that we want. We know what we need. We know what we desire. And a lot of that is going to revolve around safety, security, stability, health, wellness, happiness, joy. Of course, those are all common things that, human beings strive for. But what we are realizing right now is that it's the little things in the run of our day that actually make up the greater, scale, the picture, the goal, the dream, the vision. And so we are having some realizations on what it is that we can do in the here and now, in this present moment, in these current circumstances, with this physical form, this physical body, that can make us feel better, make us feel stronger, make us feel more empowered, make us feel more safe. The moon is going to bump into Mars, though. This is kind of where we're losing the vibe just a tad. Only because Mars, of course, is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire. He's in Gemini energy, so we're kind of divided in the mental plane. That Gemini energy, very stimulating in the mental plane, between the choices, between the decisions, between the different scenarios. If we took this path, what does this mean? If we took this path, what does this mean for us? We have a lot of inner processing going on here. And because Mars actually wants to take an action and move forward, and of course, the moon in Taurus doesn't want to take any actions. We just want to chill. We just want to find a peace and comfort and harmony and the silver linings and the blessings in the here and now. We have these impulses coming up, these urges, this drive, this motivation to actually take action and move forward on some of the things that we just identified that we want for ourselves. But the problem is we're not in the right energy in order to make said action, make said moves. This is a mental battlefield, if you will. Mars, being in Gemini energy, is aggressively pursuing the plot, the plan, the strategy in our mental planes that we will eventually take in the physical form. But unfortunately, until all of these planets start coming out of a retrograde and going direct, we are not supported in doing much in our physical realms right now. This is an inner journey. And this is going to create a little bit of a cluster F within us emotionally, because we might find ourselves frustrated, irritated, angered, that we're not able to hustle this situation along, that we're not able to make the jump, the transformation, the change in this moment where we're actually feeling good about it. The moon tries to calm us down a little bit by bumping into Mercury. Mercury, yes, retrograde in Libran energy, trying to strive for peace and harmony and balance. Libran energy and Taurus energy, both ruled over by Venus. This is our heart and our head coming on the same page, coming in alignment with one another. We recognize where it is that being grounded in this present moment, taking a good look around, taking stock, taking inventory of what this present moment is offering us, both in peace, to just chill out and just allow the thoughts, the feelings to come in, to see how we want to work with them, and giving us a moment in this earth energy, in this time out energy, where we don't have to push ahead, where we don't have to look at this big, long to-do list and be overwhelmed with trying to figure everything out for ourselves. This is a time where our heart and our head are getting on the same page so that our thoughts align with what it is that we're feeling. This is also a time where we're understanding our inner dialogue a little bit better than what it is that we have been, because things have been awfully confusing. And if the opportunity does strike where there is a situation where you do need to speak out and communicate your thoughts and your feelings, especially within a personal relationship, on what it is that you've identified needs to change in order for you to feel safe and secure and a little bit more stable within yourself and within this personal relationship, then by all means take it. Understand the information might not be received by the other person in the way that you had hoped. Mercury is retrograde, misunderstandings, miscommunications. We might have to clean this up later. This conversation might have to be backburnered until, things clear up a little bit. Just know that that is not an excuse not to initiate the conversation. It is 100% in our favor right now to get a grip, to get a grasp on what's going on within us. And if we are presented the opportunity to speak with confidence, with clarity, coming from a place of raw, authentic truth, then we need to take it. The moon comes up to, bumps into, teams up with the true node, which is also in Taurus energy. We have the true node again on the Taurus and Scorpio axis. What do we have to put a death to? What do we have to put an ending to? What do we have to let go of? What do we have to clear the space out in order to actually build and create and give birth to something new? We cannot continue to hold on to old elements until the new decides to arrive. You have to clean out the old, create the space for the new elements to know that you're serious enough for the new elements to actually be blessed upon your life. Now, the true node is our soul's path, our destiny's point. This is showing us where there is a huge aha moment, a crossroads, if you will, in realizing what it is that we need to do moving forward. Now, again, I remind you that the moon in Taurus has no want, need, or desire to look back or to look forward. We were trying really hard to stay in this present moment, but we've had some realizations, we've had some revelations, we've had a lot of improvements, we've had a lot of growth. And from that, we are having sparks of ideas, of inspirations, of the next move, of the next step in the plan, in the strategy. And for that same and that plain reason, we are using this interaction with the true node to actually put one of the puzzle pieces and snap them together so that we may not be ready to take that next move, to make that next action, but we are strategizing again in our inner realm, what that's going to look like, how that's going to feel, and what kind of territory that leaves us in when we actually physically take the action to make that move and be there. Here's the thing though, we're feeling good. We're vibing a little bit, on the confidence side because we're making some progress in our inner realm. And then the moon goes ahead and bumps into Chiron, the wounded healer. Now, let me just say that Chiron in this particular aspect is likely going to show up outside of us in our exterior realms with some kind of trigger, some kind of activation, likely coming from someone close to us, because those are the only types of people that can actually rock us, throw us off our game, if you will. Now, let me just say that we have to understand that when situations pop off and we see things from a different set of eyes and we see people's true colors in the way that they've actually been painted and not in a way that we want to paint them, sometimes that can hurt. Sometimes that can rock us. Sometimes that can really throw a wrench in our plans and what it is that we thought we were planning for and strategizing for as far as the future elements go. Keep in mind, Mercury is retrograde in Libra, dissolving relationships that have no business being alive and well, and putting a wrench in the relationships that do need to stay together in order to kind of deepen that connection, that level of trust and intimacy, and get people realigned and on the same page. So it should be no surprise that we're going to hit some road bumps here, especially where relationships are concerned, triggering our wounds, activating our fears, bringing up some doubts, highlighting our insecurities, showing us what we're afraid to lose, showing us what we're afraid to pursue. This is all part of the plan, all part of the process. The moon comes up to, bumps into, sits next to Uranus. As you know, the true node and Uranus sitting very close together, have been for quite some time since they had their conjunction just a couple weeks ago. And Uranus, as we spoke about at the beginning of this forecast, is kind of pushing for change, pushing for transformation, pushing for the next level of the plan, pushing for us to figure out what it is we want to do with ourselves, do with our lives, what are we pursuing from here? Now, this doesn't feel good because, again, Uranian energy is visionary. It wants us to think about the future. It wants to project us years and years and years into our future so that we can break that great big dream and vision and goal down into manageable pieces so that we can see what it is we actually have control over and the opportunity to create, give birth to in the here and now, to align, to make sure that that big dream, that big vision is possible. So again, we have Uranus kind of shaking things up, definitely adding to the anxiety, the restlessness, if you will, the excitement, if you choose to channel it that way, in our central nervous system, in our physical bodies. Those are the ascension symptoms that we talked about in the ascension forecast as well. So check that out if you haven't listened to it. And even if you have, maybe refresh yourself on all the pressure coming in from the crown, all the buzzing going on in our ears, the sinus pressure, the eyes. All of this is central nervous system related, and Uranus, whenever Uranus pops off, we're definitely feeling that jolt of electricity come into our physical form. So as I also spoke about, just as Uranus wants to, press that gas pedal and even hit the nitro when it's available, the moon goes ahead and squares, gets in the boxing ring with Mr. Saturn, who likes to pump the brakes and even pull on the Jake brake a little bit, right? So what are we doing? Essentially nothing. We're sitting in the same spot, just smoking tires out. Can't breathe, can't see. We don't know what's going on around us. We just know that there are two very powerful elements coming at us right now. One wants us to go forward. The other one is saying, no, you ain't going nowheres. And emotionally speaking, all we want to do is just zone out, sit in this present moment. We don't want this inner dialogue. We don't want this inner battle. Saturn, Mr. Karma himself, ruling over roles and responsibilities, structures and foundations, being retrograde in Aquarian energy, is kind of showing us where it is that, we can't enjoy this present moment. We can't just pluck out the silver linings. We can't just do things that make us feel good because we have commitments. We have responsibilities, karmically speaking, soul level speaking, 3D materialistic realm speaking. We have relationship roles and responsibilities and commitments. We have jobs. We have things to do. So it's almost like Saturn is coming in with this negative narrative, trying to make us feel bad for taking a moment out to rest. He wants that productivity. He wants to give us those tough love life lessons to make sure that we've matured enough and that we've learned from our past experiences before we go on and actually start moving forward. Again, he's retrograde all these major heavy hitting planets are retrograde. We're not going to see any kind of change in our physical circumstances in our exterior realms until October, when these planets one by one stop going retrograde and start moving forward again. Again, a great opportunity to listen to the energy forecast for 2022 that I put out at the beginning of the year. Check part 4, where we go over September, October, November, December. This is, the last wrap up of the year. And we're feeling all the feels, because what we want to do versus what we have to do is kind of the issue right now. This is, we want stability. We want peace. We want harmony. We want just calmness. We want serenity. That's that Taurus energy. And Saturn saying, okay, that's great. But you know what? If you take this time out for rest, that's great if you can stay in that mind frame. But why don't you get your ass back to building the kind of life that you need to build so that you can have all of these things all the time, instead of just this one day that you're giving yourself permission to check out of reality and to focus as hard as you're trying to focus on the here and now and plucking out the silver linings. Why not get to work? Start building a brand new foundation for yourself so that you can enjoy this state of mind all the time. He's not wrong, but we're not in the mind space or the heart space to hear this. We don't want to hear it right now. We just kind of want to put our blinders on and do what we can to provide ourselves with safety, security, happiness, peace, and harmony in the here and now. We're going to wrap the day up with the moon in Taurus, semi-squaring, which is a tension point with Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde in Aries energy. Jupiter is all about growth and improvement, about our beliefs, about our blessings, about the abundance that we crave. And here's the thing. Sometimes when we sit down to think about what it is that we want for ourselves, we tend to want more. And wanting more is not a bad thing, except that it takes you out of this present moment to project yourself into the future on what having those more elements would actually look and feel like. And it also puts us in the present moment of recognizing that when we want more, it shows us what it is that we currently do not have, triggering the lack of or scarcity mindset. So instead of being, again, the moon in Taurus doesn't want to project ourselves in the future, doesn't want to go back to the past, just wants to stick into this present moment, Jupiter's out here going, okay, I'm so grateful that you're taking this little time out. And I know you don't want to think about the future, and I know you don't want to think about the past, but look how far you've come. You're living in a state of being right now that you prayed for one of these days, many, many moons ago. And I know you don't want to think about the future, but you're not presently too happy. You're really struggling to find the peace and the happiness and the serenity and the silver linings in the here and now. So why not take a moment out to think about how you can grow and improve and, change your life and start, building towards being able to have all these elements that you are craving in your life. Like, why are you taking a time out to check out when you could be actively working towards building towards having everything that you want, all of these more elements that you're actually dreaming of? And so again, we feel this push and pull because we just want so badly to have the attitude of gratitude in the present moment. We just want to focus on the here and now. And then Mr. Jupiter, who is the magnifier, right? He just makes everything that we're thinking and feeling that much bigger than it actually is. And again, we are going to struggle with the element of staying in this present moment and having gratitude for the elements, the circumstances that we're trying to pluck out of the here and now, and to see the happiness, the joy, the peace, the serenity, the stability that we are actively trying to create for ourselves in the here and now to make ourselves feel safe and secure and nurtured and nourished and taken care of. And, it's not a bad thing to get working and to be pushing forward, but many of us have just been waking up and trying to push forward on a plan that we haven't really well strategized or calculated yet. And I think that is the greatest lesson that we need to be learning right now, is that sometimes the answers that we are seeking, the direction that we are craving, comes in the moment when we are at peace in the moment with ourselves, with our circumstances. So sometimes when we're looking in the past for answers and we're projecting yourself in the future for direction, for guidance, sometimes the answers get missed, because the only time that your higher self can actually speak to you and provide you with the insight that you're looking for, the answers to your questions, is when you're quiet, when you're present, when you're physically in the moment, and you're working really hard to quiet the chatter in your mind space and to have an open heart of love and gratitude to allow that information to flow very freely within you.